The fact that you're having the same problem all over again doesn't indicate that you've got a big problem. It just indicates that you're slow learner. That's all it is.
No, but that's the truth. And we were slow learners. We were slow learners because I remember that. I mean, we've talked about it. Those times when we would talk and it'd be like, how many times are we going to go through this? And then you feel like, what's the point? We've been through this before.
Yeah.
Let's just leave it, right? But you can't just leave it because it's still an issue. Yeah. So you might be slow learners, but keep learning.
Absolutely.
Keep learning. Yeah. Thank God we finally learned the lessons. Yeah. And I'll tell you the biggest lesson we needed to learn that took us so long. One of the biggest lessons anyway was to understand that we are different.
Absolutely.
Once we started to accept that we are different, those conflicts reduced. Yeah. And when we not just accept that we're different, but at least start to appreciate each other's differences, those conflicts reduce. So we were slow learners, but we learned, hey, if we could learn, you can learn. Let's hope for you.
Absolutely. Hello and welcome to the studio. For the last 2 weeks we were in Bali, beautiful Bali.
Yes, but it's wonderful to be in the studio.
We're back in beautiful England. Yes. Welcome. My name is Julius and this is my wife,
Mary Enyelu, and we are your hosts on the Relationship Real Talk Show where we talk all things relationship, always keeping it real. The last couple of episodes, we've been going through our book. We wrote a book, 30 Ways to Divorce-Proof Your Marriage. And we've just been giving you little snippets from the book. So we've been going through the chapters in the book. And we want to continue. It's 30 chapters in the book because it's 30 ways to divorce-proof your marriage. Absolutely. So we're up to the
chapter 14, which is adopt a no secret, no barriers stance.
Yeah, actually, before we continue, just want to say thank you to everyone that has subscribed. Our last target was 600. Last time I checked, it was 700 and something. So we're on our way to 1,000. So thank you all. If you subscribe, if you haven't, this is your opportunity to do so. Hit that subscribe button so you can be notified when we release new episodes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're talking. We're starting the conversation talking about adopt a no secret, no barrier stance. In marriage, openness is required. You can't keep secret from each other. You've got to be open to each other and be readable, basically.
No matter how tempting it is. I mean, the subheading says embrace complete honesty, transparency, and vulnerability. So it's not just about honesty, it's about transparency and vulnerability as well. And I know that it can be difficult depending on your past experience, things you've gone through in the past. You may want to hide some of yourself away. And you may build up fences and barriers to protect yourself. You don't want to be vulnerable. And to be honest, I think it can be difficult, especially when you just met someone, you're going out, and then you're expected to now be completely open to the person. It can be difficult, but there's no other way.
Maybe at the beginning it may be a little bit difficult, but as time progresses, the goal should be oneness, as we've been repeating.
Absolutely.
And to be true to oneself, you cannot hide anything from yourself, because the two shall become one. That's what the Bible says.
And the honesty part is extremely important as well. If you lie, that means you're going to have to keep lying.
Well, yes.
Very often when you lie, you have to tell another lie to keep that lie, and it just gets messy. Trust is the glue that holds relationships together. And so when you lie, and then even if sometimes people lie because they want to protect the other person.
Right.
They don't want them to know what's really going on.
They want to save them.
They want to save them from the trouble. But when the other person finds out,
they'll be disappointed.
And now they're wondering, what else are you lying about?
Yes.
So that brings, distrust to the relationship, which really damages the relationship. So embracing complete honesty, transparency, and vulnerability is important. But helping each other be vulnerable is so key as well. If I feel like I'm going to be judged, if I'm vulnerable, if I'm open, then I'm not going to open up. But if I know that if I'm honest and say, I feel whatever it is, I'm being honest about. I feel like you don't love me enough, or I feel like whatever it is. If I know that you're going to accept it and not judge me, then that helps me to open up. But
in marriage, you shouldn't keep secret from each other. You should actually make an effort, even though you may not achieve total transparency on day one, but progressively move towards it.
Somebody asked me this question, so I'm going to throw it in before we move to the next chapter. Is it absolutely necessary for your spouse to know everything about you and your past?
I wouldn't worry too much about the past, However, if you think it is worthy of them knowing, then discuss it. As long as it's not that you're hiding something.
I think that's the key thing. I don't think it's necessary that the person knows everything you've done in your past, but as long as you're not deliberately hiding something from them that could be relevant, I think that's key.
So because if you're hiding something, then something is wrong.
Something is wrong.
Don't worry too much talking about the past, because the past is in the past.
It's in the past, absolutely. But we'll come back and deal with this more in depth at a later point. But the next chapter says, be careful who you hang out with. You cannot hang out with chickens and expect to fly like an eagle. And in the same way with relationships, it's important that you hang out with people who have healthy relationships, because it's only a matter of time. If you hang out with people who are always, if you're female, for instance, and you hang out with female friends who are always complaining about their husbands, about how lazy their husbands are, about how they're no good, about how they don't they do anything right, it's only a matter of time you're going to start to see your own spouse in that light through those lenses.
Evil communication corrupts good manners. That's what they say, isn't it? So if you have to be sensitive to realize this company I'm keeping, is it good for me? Is it good for my mental well-being? Is it good for my marriage? Is it good for my finances? Is it good for my career? You've got to be deliberate. If you just hang out with anybody, you will become anybody, But if you're deliberate in the company you keep, then you will arrive at a definite destination. And it's important.
And I think particularly with respect to marriage and relationships, I always say, go with people who are going where you want to go. Don't go with people who have their real life experience, even if it's not your experience, or if it's not the experience you want. It may be their real life experience. But is that the experience you want? That's the question. Because people will say to you, listen, it's just the way life is. Men cannot be trusted, right? And they can give you all the experiences they've had, their own experiences, their friends' experience, their auntie's experience, everybody else's experience, to prove to you that men cannot be trusted. Yes, those experiences are real. We cannot take away from them. But is that the experience you want?
Exactly.
If that's not the experience you want, then go find people who have the experience you want, so you can see what they're doing, how they're thinking, and model your life and your relationship after that. So hanging out with the right people is key.
People that are always talking about problems. You don't want to be around those people. They take too much energy from you. Every day they see all this is problem. There's a problem in this person, problem in that person. People who are always talking about other people. You really don't want to be keeping company with those people. Hang out with people that you wouldn't find them affecting your life.
Yes.
Because the truth is, the company you keep is going to ultimately affect your life.
Absolutely. They say we're a sum total of the 5 people that are closest to us.
Exactly.
Meaning the people that are closest to us influence our thinking, our way of being, our attitude, our choices, and all of those things are the things that determine our results in our lives. So it's so important. In every aspect of life it's important, but with married relationship especially, it's so important. If you're hanging out with people that are divorced, all your friends are divorced. Now, I'm not saying don't have divorcee as friends, but if all your friends are divorced and you always hang out with people who are divorced, especially if they haven't healed, they're going to bring their baggage into your relationship, and they're going to tell you why you shouldn't, not in those words, but they're going to convince you why your relationship shouldn't be how it should be. And before you know it, you're complaining about your spouse, because all you're hearing is all this negativity. The next one says, keep the communication lines open. I love this one because it's so important. Keep the communication lines open, maintaining consistent, candid, and caring conversations.
Yeah. You should be able to talk about anything between yourselves. You know, if you're uncomfortable talking about certain things, then you got issues to deal with. You know, you should basically be able to talk about anything, like you said earlier. It could be a negative feeling that you're feeling. You should be able to talk about it. You know, talk about the good, bad, and ugly. You know, the fact that you are committed to communication is an indication that you're committed to growth.
You're committed to growth.
Yeah, and improvement.
Absolutely.
You know? Yeah.
Absolutely. The minute you stop communicating, it means that you give room for just decay and deterioration, and the relationship stops to thrive. So sometimes it can be difficult, especially if you've gone through something over and over and over again. It may feel like deja vu. We've been here before, done that before.
I don't want to talk about it again.
Talk about it again. And sometimes you might be trying to communicate, and it's so hard. I mean, we've had that in our relationship. If we're going to be honest, there have been times where it just feels like, I don't even know what's the point. What's the point in just talking? Because it's like the more we talk, the worse it gets. It's like we're talking and we're trying to resolve things, but it just seems to be getting worse. Yes, if that's happening, you may have to park the conversation. Give it space. We've done that. You know, just let it rest. But you have to come back to it. Nothing just resolves itself. Well, very few things just resolve themselves. So we say consistent, candid, and caring conversations. So keep it consistent, keep the lines open, but keep it caring as well. Meaning you're not being spiteful, you're not being disrespectful, you're not cutting the person down when you're trying to communicate what it is you're trying to communicate. So it's caring, but it's candid, meaning it's real. You're not camouflaging. You're not trying to say it is red when it's blue. So it's candid, but it's handled with care.
So if you want to communicate truth, it has to be coated in love. You know, don't
sugarcoat the pill. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but
well, you know, that's how they get us to swallow bitter medicines, you know. So you've got to be caring, you know, because at the end of the day, you are not communicating to break this relationship. You're communicating to improve this relationship
and to bring healing.
So just be mindful of that. People will say, well, that's exactly how I feel. Well, maybe just control yourself.
Maturity demands that you don't just go with how you feel. You think about it. I mean, there are times, and listen, trust me, I haven't always been like this. I've been that person that there's something on my mind, I just want to say it immediately, and I say it how it is. But over time, I've learned you don't get the results that you want. And so is it just the case that you just want to talk, or do you want to get results? So if you want to get results, you have to think. You have to think about the right time. So I've learned that I have to think about the right time. Maybe when you just come back from work, it's not the time for me to just spew all over you the things that I've been thinking about. So you bide your time, you look for the right time, you find the right way to approach it, the right way to broach the subject. It's so important. It shows you care and you're being intentional. So just do it anyhow to say, well, that's how I'm feeling. I'm just going to say it how I'm feeling. I'm just going to say it anyhow. It means you're not giving much thought or much care to the relationship.
So it's about being mindful of the other person because words are powerful.
Words are powerful.
And words can build and words can kill. So it's very important that you be careful what you say, even when you're very angry.
Can we just say, as we carry on, if you've got any questions or you want us to elaborate more on something we touch on, please put your comments in the chat or in the comment section, because like we said, we're going to revisit all these chapters again, and it will just give us an idea of where to focus on. So please do that, and if you haven't subscribed, of course, to subscribe.
The next chapter says handle conflicts constructively.
Building bridges, not walls.
Because conflicts are natural to any relationship. Not too much conflict, but conflicts will happen.
But conflicts will happen because we're different, we have different personalities, we have different viewpoints, so conflict will happen. And like you said, not just in married relationships, in every relationship. Conflict just shows that there's a different way of seeing things. So the conflict of itself is not bad, it's how we deal with the conflict.
Absolutely. So when I think stemming from what we were saying earlier, when there are things to deal with them. Separate the act from the person.
Yes.
If they behave not too wisely, don't say, that's how you always talk. You just talk like a mad person.
Absolutely. Their behavior is not their being.
Exactly.
They're not the same, Your behavior changes. Your behavior is just a reflection of your current level of awareness, your current understanding, your current training, and that can change.
That will change.
When conflict arises, it's an opportunity actually. If we choose to see it like that, we'll see that it's not a bad thing. When conflict arises, it's an opportunity for us to get closer. Because it just shows that, okay, there's disparity here.
Let's deal with it,
then we can come closer. So if we approach conflict from that viewpoint of, okay, this is an opportunity for us to resolve things that is keeping us apart perhaps, so we can be closer, then it helps. And going into the conversation from that place of, we're together. We're not fighting. We're not enemies.
It's a team.
It's a team. But you just need to resolve this. Hopefully that helps in how you approach it.
I know you said we're going to go deeper into these chapters, but a question just popped up in my mind. So you may have people saying, if we're meant to be together, why do we quarrel often?
Well, I think we've dealt with this before. It just means, I'll give this analogy that somebody used once and it's stuck with me since then. He said, if you take different fruits and vegetables, right? So your peppers, your tomato, your onion, whatever it is, you chuck it all in the grinder, the blender. Initially, you're just going to hear this crude noise. Everything is just trying to find its place, right? But then the more it blends, you start to hear this smooth sound. And that's exactly how it is. When you come together, most people have their biggest challenges, fights early on in
the days.
So the fact that you're having conflict early in your relationship does not mean you're not meant to be. It just means two different people from two different places, two different experiences are coming together. So of course you will have those little ways that we kind of rub off each other the wrong way. So no, it definitely is not an indication that you're not supposed to be together. It's an opportunity to grow.
And the fact that you're having the same problem all over again doesn't indicate that you've got a big problem. It just indicates that you're slow learning. That's all it is.
No, but that's the truth. And we were slow learners. We were slow learners because I remember that. We've talked about it. Those times where we would talk and it'd be like, how many times are we going to go through this? And then you feel like, what's the point? We've been through this before. We've said, let's just leave it, right? But you can't just leave it because it's still an issue. So you might be slow learners, but keep learning.
Absolutely.
Keep learning. Thank God we finally learned the lessons. And I'll tell you the biggest lesson we needed to learn that took us so long. One of the biggest lessons anyway was to understand that we are different.
Absolutely.
Once we started to accept that we are different, those conflicts reduced. And when we not just accept that we're different, but actually start to appreciate each other's differences, those conflicts reduce. So we were slow learners, but we learned, hey, if we could learn, you can learn. Let's hope for you.
Absolutely. The next chapter says, keep the spark alive, nurturing romance and intimacy. This is up your lane more than anything else.
Why?
Because I don't want to say as a typical man, I'm busy, building a career, building ministry, and I know, but you've made a lot of effort.
I have made a lot of effort
over the years, and you never give up.
I never give up.
We're going dancing.
Yes.
And sometimes I'm like, can't we just go dancing? No, we're going today. Only don't say it again. You're annoying me.
I know, because I understand, and I'm sure you do too, but I understand the importance of doing things together. and being deliberate in keeping that spark alive.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. So my husband just said it jokingly. I used to say, why is it always me bringing up the ideas? Why? And yes, it was a bit annoying sometimes because I'm like, does that mean you don't care? Does that mean you don't care that we spend time together? But I didn't allow that deter me. So if you're the person always coming up with the ideas of we should do this to keep the romance, we should do that, don't let the fact that the other person is not coming up with the ideas deter you, right? As long as, even if they are going unwillingly to the dance class,
as long as they're coming,
as long as they're doing it, of course it'll be better.
She makes me go dancing. I don't want to dance.
Yeah, but we danced for our renewal of vows and we enjoyed it. But of course it will be better if both parties are equally invested. Otherwise you start to feel like I'm just forcing it on the other person. But I know that it wasn't because he didn't love me, he just didn't see it as a priority. But it's important to me, and I love dancing anyway. I just love dancing. So sometimes we did roller skating. Again, I dragged us to go to roller skating. Just anything to do stuff together. It's so important, because when you get married, before you get married, you don't need to put a lot of effort to keeping that romance alive.
You don't even have to do anything.
You don't have to do anything.
You could just be on the phone for hours.
I remember
talking about nothing.
I remember one day actually before we got married, we were on the phone for hours. I fell asleep holding the phone. We were just talking. What were we talking about? Probably nothing. Well, you don't need a lot of effort. But then when all the other responsibilities that comes with life starts to happen, you have to be intentional, because otherwise you'll say, okay, I have to go to work. Like you mentioned, career, I have to go to work because we have to feed. So you go to work.
Ministry.
I have to do the ministry. I have to take care of the kids. So all those other have-tos can take priority. But your relationship, your romance is important as well. So you have to do the things to maintain that romance. So it's important.
And something that I've learned over time, because I did say, she drags me dancing. I don't like dancing. It's not that I object to dancing, but I don't enjoy it that much. However, I realize
it's just because you don't know how to dance.
But I realize, one, it's important to you. Secondly, it gives us an opportunity to do something together. So it's not so much about you, because it could be a case of, okay, I don't mind doing something together. Find something I like. It's not really that much about you, because how about you come up with an idea, so a suggestion of something you like. Don't leave it completely to the other person.
Yeah, but it's important. I mean, infidelity is one of the top reasons for marriage breakups. Infidelity and money. So bear that in mind. It's important that you keep that spark alive, so you still satisfy each other.
Choose joy and invest in happiness.
Not just enduring, but enjoying your marriage. And our son said it during our recent renewal of vows ceremony. He talked about the fact that we always try and have fun together. Life is too short. Life is too short to be miserable. So when we say choose joy, it doesn't mean you always have reason to be joyful. But even in the midst of the stress going on in the home, whatever it may be, choose joy and choose happiness. So we didn't just stay together to keep a stable home. That is important. Again, one of our kids mentioned that the importance of having a stable home for the kids to grow up in. But we wanted to be happy doing it. So we choose joy, choose to joke, choose to laugh. I mean,
I will laugh at anything.
You will laugh at anything.
And I remember I would bring something to my wife. Look, and then she would go dry. But I would
problem is you laugh too much. You laugh so much that by the time I look at what's supposed to be funny, it's not funny anymore when I put it within the context of the laughter that you've been laughing. But then we laugh. I laugh at you for laughing so much. Laughter is good. It's good medicine.
Laughter is good medicine. It gives strength to your body.
It gives strength to your body. Just fill your home with joy and laughter. It helps. It takes away the stress. Life can be stressful, but just choose joy. Find those moments of joy in your home. Focus on the things that brings you pleasure, the things that makes you happy. Focus on that and do it. God did not intend for us to live miserable lives.
If you want to focus on negative things, there are plenty to look out for. you know. But then, if you choose to be happy, you know, find happiness in the most mundane thing.
Yeah.
You know, food.
Food is a good thing. And here's the thing, before we move away from this topic, don't rely on your spouse, or don't wait for your spouse to make you happy.
Yeah.
Don't wait for your spouse to make you happy. You take responsibility for
your
own happiness, and that will rub off on your spouse. So we'll come back to it. But choose happiness and choose joy. The next one is choose contentment over comparison.
Yes.
Gratitude fuels love, comparison drains it.
Absolutely. You know, if you compare your marriage to another person's marriage, you're going to have problems.
Absolutely.
You know, I remember, I'm not going to give too much specific, somebody said they stopped doing something at home because of another couple.
Really?
You know. However, I remember, I think we talked about it on this program once. Somebody came to our house and I was doing the dishes, and I was like, you do the dishes too? You know, and then the next time we went to visit them, he was doing the dishes. I was like, I'm learning, you know. So do what works in your marriage. That's the point I'm trying to make. If you hoover, you know, I say this, and I think women should really pay me because I'm so pro women. You know, when you hoover, don't say I'm helping you. You live in that house.
Yes.
So what do you mean I'm helping you? You're not helping them.
You're doing your bit.
You're doing your bit. You know, when you cook, say I'm helping you. No, aren't you going to eat the food? You know, you're not helping them. If you are, you're helping each other. You're doing your bit, because if you leave one person to do everything, they're just gonna crumble.
No, it's so important. Comparison is a killer. You know, even professionally, when we compare ourselves with others, we tend to put ourselves down.
Yeah.
We think we're not good enough. We think we haven't done enough. We always think the other person is bigger, better, brighter, faster than us. And so we stifle our own growth and our own creativity by comparing ourselves with others. Well, we're going to stop there. We hope that some of these nuggets, you found them helpful. Again, if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. Help us hit that target of 1,000. Hit the subscribe button. And we'll see you on the next episode. Until then, it's been me, Mary Eniolu,
and Julius Eniolu,
on the Relationship Real Talk Show, where we talk all things relationship, always keeping it real. See you next time.